Friends, welcome. Today we have Father Joseph Mary with us on the show. Father, how are you? Could you introduce yourself a little?
Hello, my name is Father Joseph Mary Dean. I'm one of the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, originally from Maryland, currently stationed in Limerick, Ireland, though, in Moyras.
What was your family like?
Grew up in a Catholic family, raised with the faith, but and had a happy enough childhood. But at a certain point in my life, even though I knew everything in the church to be true, I never disagreed with the teachings of the church, and I knew they were true. At a certain point, I gave into the lie of the world that I would find happiness in the pleasures of the world, and at a certain point in my early teen years, I rebelled against everything I'd been brought up with and my faith, and went a different direction.
Up until this point that you were practicing the faith before rebelling against it, how would you describe it? Did you have a relationship with God? Was it personal or just something your family did?
No, I grew up in a family that practiced the faith. We went to different prayer meetings, and some charismatic prayer meetings, some other ones. We went to different conferences. So faith was a part of our life. We didn't have the family prayer like we should have, but faith was something that was very real, and I did practice it, and I knew, and I'd had experiences of God in my life, and so I knew it to be real and to be true.
Okay, so what would you say is the reason that you started to fall away?
The cause of it basically was when I was a young man and a young lad, my natural disposition was very shy, introverted. I was kind of different. I was into, snakes and frogs and turtles and science fiction, and although I had many gifts, I was just very shy, and so therefore had a lot of insecurities. I struggled massively with self-hate for a long time. So because of that, I wasn't happy. I wanted to be more popular. I wanted to have more friends. I wanted to date more. And I saw religion as something blocking or impeding that, because it was, the holy way of doing things. But then all my friends were not, so many people I knew were doing other things and seemed to be having so much fun. So I literally rejected Jesus from my life. Where some people don't know any different. They're just kind of dumb. They just do things. I knew it was true, and I still walked away from it and rejected Jesus from my life because I wanted popularity. I wanted success. I wanted everything that the world had to offer, which promised me was going to make me happy. And so I did. So I just made a decision to leave my faith behind.
Did any of your friends practice the faith, or were you alone?
Not really. I didn't know. All of my friends, we would have had faith, but it would have been just your normal Sunday Catholic kind of faith. So they would have believed, but it wasn't really something that was part of our life.
So when you decided to leave the faith behind, how did your life begin to change?
Well, just fell into a lot of alcohol and drug use. And in those two things, I discovered that there was an extroverted side of me, and it all kind of came out once I started drinking. I found popularity. I became known for my ability to party incredibly hard. My nickname in high school became the Machine, because they said the way I partied, I couldn't be human. I had to be a machine. And in that, I finally found a voice, and I started getting bold and confident and getting into fights and meeting girls and doing crazy things. And so I became popular. And for a while it was fun. I had success. I had popularity. I was dating a lot. And so there was parts that I enjoyed, but at the same time I was becoming somebody really different. And it just led to more and more sin in my life, more and more doing things I wouldn't have done before. Just becoming a person who wasn't, I would do things I was like, I would have never done that before, like real jerk moves, and I just didn't care because it was about me. It was about what was gonna make me happy. It was about my pleasure, and I didn't really care about anybody else. And that's what it led to. And I remember one morning looking in the mirror after a particularly long night of alcohol and drugs, and looking in the mirror and not recognizing the person I saw. I had become so different. And it kind of scared me a little bit. I was like, who have I become? Who am I? I don't even know myself anymore. And, but I still didn't know what to do, how to change or what I should do, so.
I'm guessing that when you were doing all this, you knew that what you were doing was wrong because of your faith. Did you pay any attention to your conscience or just ignore it completely?
Yeah, I honestly didn't care. I'd made my decision that I was going to do what I wanted to do, and that was it. And so, and in fact, I think it kind of, maybe it bothered me that it didn't bother me, Nothing seemed to bother me at that time. Yeah.
And how did your family react to all of this?
My brother and sisters, they were somewhat worried about me. My parents were more worried about me. They were praying for me all the time because they could see I was going in the wrong direction drastically. And so, yeah. And my brothers and sisters were more just worried that I was going to just do something stupid, end up, overdosing or in a DWI or, in an accident or who knows what, or in a fight, or, that something bad would happen, so.
Was there a certain moment that you knew you had to get out?
Well, yeah, sort of. There's no one thing in particular that happened that really shook me, but it was this growing sense that something really bad was going to happen in my life. And I felt like I was going to end up dead or in jail in the near future. And I had this sense in my heart, if I end up dead, I think I'm going to end up in hell. Because again, I knew the truth, and it was a real, kind of spiritual sense. It's like, I think I'm going to go to hell. And I knew enough to know that sounds terrible. And so I said, maybe I need to do something, because something has to change, so.
During that time, did you ever experience the presence of the devil?
Not in a real tangible way. I mean, in very real ways, where I needed some deliverance, because I'd opened the doorway to so many things. But more of just in the sense of, as I had allowed him into my life, how I had become so different. Where I'd gone from being a very kind, loving person to self-serving, narcissistic, and that it didn't really matter who I hurt, and that wasn't me. And so I felt his presence in my decisions, but not in a tangible way per se. I think he was trying to keep himself hidden to try and lure me into the lie, Because a lot of people have that conversion when they have that experience of the devil. It's a wake-up call. So I think he was trying to keep himself hidden so I wouldn't wake up. So.
Did you feel an emptiness? Just thinking that what made you wake up was the thought of going to hell. But didn't you experience a sort of emptiness?
Well, yeah, because I had drunk deeply of everything the world had to offer. The sins of the world and the pleasures. And I had to ask myself the question, am I happy? And the answer was no. I experienced pleasure in my life, but it was really just living, going from pleasure to pleasure, filling the void, numbing, things with alcohol and drugs. But was I happy? No. And so I started to ask myself that question. If everything in the world that the world promises is going to make me happy, how come I'm not happy? And so that was a a question. And so that was kind of a turning point for me. I was like, well, I'm not happy. And ultimately what we all want is happiness. We want joy, we want peace, we want happiness, and I said, well, the world, I tried everything the world had and it didn't make me happy. So maybe I should give God a chance. Because I knew what I'd learned about the faith, and like, maybe I should, let God give it, I'll give God a go and see if that works, so.
Okay, let's talk about conversion process. Your change of tracks. Was it by yourself? Did someone speak with you? How did the change come about?
Well, it actually started with my father just called me out of the blue when I was living on my own with my brother and a friend up near Baltimore, Maryland, and he asked me to go on this retreat. And I had no desire to go on a retreat. But my mother would always ask me to do things, but not my father. And so the fact that my father asked me, I knew it took some effort on his part, because he was expecting to be rejected, and so he risked it, and he asked me anyways. And he said, son, I'd like you to go on this retreat with me. Would you be willing to go? And I said yes, not because I wanted to go on the retreat, but because my father asked me. And so it's a good reminder and encouragement to everyone. You never know when that moment of grace is going to be there. So really follow this prompting to the Spirit. And sometimes people will say yes that you would never expect to say yes. And sometimes they'll say yes, not even because they're experiencing God, but just because you asked them. And so I asked off from work. Miraculously, they gave me off all the time, which they never did. Because I thought for sure I would just ask off and then I wouldn't have to go on the retreat anyways, because they would say, no, you can't have 5 days off. They would never give me that off. And instead they were like, sure, yeah, it's no problem. We'll get other people to cover everything. And I'm like, you never give me time off. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I was so frustrated. I was like, I guess I have to go on this retreat now, so I could have the time off, So I called my father back and I said, yeah, I'm going on this retreat thing with you, Pop. And so we went. And then and it was actually down in Georgia. And I was thinking, well, it'll be March in Georgia. I can hang out by the pool at the hotel, get a head start on my suntan. And then it was like freezing cold and snowing, in mid-March in Georgia, which never happens, And I was like, so my dad was like, well, you want to come pray with us? I'm like, not really, but there's nothing else to do, so okay. And that's where it started. And it really was it was simple in the sense of, I heard the words that God is love, and I thought about it. I said, wow, if God is love, so if God is God, that means he knows everything because he's God. And if he's love, that means he loves me. So somebody that knows everything and loves me knows what would be the best choice for me, the best pathway for me. And I want happiness. I want joy. I want peace in my life. And I've tried everything the world had to offer, and it didn't work. So if you really do love me, Lord, and you really want me to be happy, then I'm going to give you permission now. And so basically I said the simple prayer of, Jesus, I give you total permission, total authority, total access. Do whatever you want to do. Just show me what you want me to do, and I will do it, because I'm going to give you a chance now. And so I said, Jesus, come into my heart, and whatever you need to do. And in the humility of the Lord, he'd literally just been standing there waiting. It's the image of him standing at the door knocking, because he has to be let in. He was just standing there knocking for years and years. And then when I finally just said, come in, he did. And it was instantly, everything changed. He was just waiting for that moment. And yeah, and it wasn't like I felt like, it wasn't like a lightning bolt, but my eyes were opened and I felt his presence, and I knew instantly I had to change my life drastically, so.
So after that, at home again, tell me, how did your life begin to change in concrete ways?
Yeah. Very concrete. I started going to Mass. I started helping. I ended up starting going to helping out. I was going to prayer groups. I was helping out at with youth ministry, different nights. I was basically at the church almost every night. I started hanging out with seminarians. I got rid of my drugs, I got rid of all my old phone numbers from my ex-girlfriends. I got rid of all the sinful things I had, canceled memberships and everything, and just, yeah, and I just started just going to mass and prayer, and I just found myself happy at church. And I went for my first confession, and forever. My mom, I was so far gone, I wasn't even thinking about confession. It wasn't that I was avoiding it, I'd forgotten about it. And my mother was like, you really need to go to confession if you're gonna start going back to mass. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure, cool. What do you do? I remember I did that in middle school once, I think. And so she said, yeah. So and she knew this priest who was very gifted and spiritually. And she set up an appointment, and I went in there and I just started talking. And it was well over an hour later, hour and a half later, I mean, next thing I know, I'm weeping, and just weeping profusely. And I'm in there and I'm just getting everything out. And it was just years and years of baggage. And I left and I felt like physically lighter. I felt transformed, and I felt like a weight had been lifted off of me. And I was like, it was amazing. And I think that might have been the thing that kind of started my desire for the priesthood, was like, that was the most amazing thing I've ever experienced in my life. I would love to be able to do that for other people. And it was maybe like where the seed was first planted, because it was the most amazing experience I'd ever had. I'd never felt anything like that. And so yeah, things changed in a very, very concrete way. I started fasting on bread and water on Wednesdays and Fridays. I started doing the rosary. I started everything, like everything. I was like, all right, I have to change now. And so.
You had been involved in a lot of things. So was it a process to leave everything, or was it a special grace from the Lord to leave everything just like that and everything changed?
Just like that. Yeah. I mean, later on, there might have been a moment here or there where I kind of drifted back a little bit just to see like, oh, that was really fun. And I'd go back to one of the clubs. But now I'd look around and I'd see like, wow, everyone here is so shallow, so fake. Everyone here is so unhappy, and they're trying to act like they're happy and they're not. And I never noticed it before because I was just caught up in it. And I was like, it was like the scales had been removed from my eyes. And so I couldn't really go back. Or I remember one time I was at one of our favorite clubs and we'd go to on Thursday nights, and I have tons of friends there. And I went just to, I wasn't gonna go and get drunk, but just, go dance some. And I remember like it happened, like somebody asked me like, oh, do you want another beer? And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, wow, you're driving? I'm like, no, because it's midnight now, so it's Friday, and I only do bread and water on Fridays. And my friends were like, okay. And they were just like, we're gonna walk away now. So I got a glass of water and I'm still dancing. So yeah, but no, for the most part, there's still, because of the baggage of life, it was a drastic shift, but there was times, throughout my life where I would then be tempted to kind of go back. So it was a clean break, but with periodic moments of, really kind of going back and let's just go see if it was as bad as I remember. Yep, it was. So and then I wouldn't go back. So I guess it was a bit of a both and, but for the most part, it was, I knew in my heart that's not what I wanted. I knew it was a lie. So anytime I did it after that, I was just, it was, I don't know, trying to experience or trying to, but for the most part, it was a walking away.
And could you tell us how after that experience in confession, you discovered a call to the priesthood?
Yeah, well, the same priest, he was running the youth group that I was volunteering at. I was a Life Team Corps member. And one night he was asking all the young lads, hey, John, you're gonna be my priest, right? And the young lad would be, no. Another guy, hey, Billy, you're gonna be my priest, right? Maybe. So I thought like the idea of me being a priest would be the most ridiculous, ludicrous, stupid idea in the world. Because everybody, like, I can't be a priest. And so I threw it out there as a joke. Like, hey, what about me, Father? and waiting for everyone to start laughing at the mere idea of me being a priest. And he started to smile, but then he stopped, and he got this little twinkle in his eye, and he was very gifted with the Spirit, and I know the Holy Spirit kind of ratted me out right then, and like it was like almost like with David, like nope, no, that guy, yeah, and he's like, that's the one, and he just got this smile on his face, and he looked me dead in the eyes, and he said, "What about you, Joseph? Are you going to be my priest?" And I opened my mouth to say, "No, not just no, but heck no." And instead, when I opened my mouth, I said, "Yes, I am." And as soon as the words left my mouth, I knew it was the truth, because I've been asking the Lord, "What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?" And as soon as the words left my mouth, I knew it was true. And then I was like, and then right away, I was like, inside, I was like, "No!" That was the one thing I told him after my initial conversion experience was like, "I'll do anything you want me to do, Lord, except I don't want to live in a big city, because I just need nature, and I'll never be a priest." And so of course he called me to be a priest in South Bronx and Harlem in New York City, because Jesus thinks he's really funny. And so the two things I said I'd never do, and I knew that when I met the friars, that's what I knew. He was asking me to go to New York City. I'm like, all places, But I kept on saying, I said I would trust. I said I would trust. It seems mad to me. This seems crazy. I think this is a terrible idea. Okay, though, but I said I'd give it a go. So I gave it a go. When I went to visit the friars, and I was still like, there's no way I'm going to do this. But when I walked in the door, I just heard a voice inside my heart that said, "This is where you're going to die." And I said, okay, this is it. All right, let's do it. And I knew at the time, the sense was the permanence of it. Like, this is where I was going to spend the rest of my life. I was going to die in that place. I was going to die as a friar, but also it was where I was going to learn how to die to myself and all my sinfulness and selfishness, and to live for Christ. So, yeah.
Father Joseph, we only have a few minutes left. Could you tell us a little bit about your life as a priest, what you've seen, what it's like, and if it fills you?
Oh, my life as a priest is amazing. The Lord knew what he was doing. And one of the beautiful things is, I've gotten to meet so many amazing people and to walk with them and part of their healing journey. And so great, so beautiful. So many friends, but also like I have this incredible love for nature and for adventure and for travel. And I thought I have to give all that up and I have to go lock myself away. But instead the Lord is taking me to the world. And my two greatest dreams in life was one to be into Amazon rainforest in the jungle, and the other one was to see the northern lights. And within 6 months, he took me to both places. I'm standing out on a frozen lake under the northern lights by the Arctic Circle, just laughing and dancing. And then 6 months later, I'm in a canoe in the Amazon catching crocodiles. And I'm like, how am I here? What is going on? And the Lord was like, I know how much you love this. And that's why I said, trust me, just follow me. And it's been ups and downs and struggles, and because of my past, there's been a lot of struggles, but the Lord knew what he was doing, and it's been the greatest gift of my life. The people I've been able to walk with, the miracles I've been able to see happen, just the experiences, just every night, just feeling good about yourself and what you're doing, and just seeing concrete ways that people's lives are being changed and God's using you for that. And it's just humbling. I am just constantly humbled when I see like these miracles happening and conversions, and I see God working this through me in this way, and I'm just so blown away. I'm so humbled. Like, you're using me to do the most amazing, beautiful things, and I am just so grateful. I couldn't have imagined it, even because of my shyness before. Even talking in front of people was like a terror for me. And instead, like now I love preaching. Give me 10,000 people, I'll be delighted. And because it's the joy of the Lord just in me, and I just want to share it. And so even just like how something that's been, I was so shy and so afraid to talk before. Now he has me all over the place, all over the world. I've seen every state. I've been to all the Canadian provinces. I've been to 35 countries. I've been, like the Lord just keeps just doing just amazing things. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's so good. So following the Lord is never boring. He knows us and he knows our hearts, and he delights in who we are and the unique gift that each one of us is. So yeah, it's been amazing.
Father Joseph, thank you for your testimony. I'm sure that it will help many people. Thank you.
You're welcome, Christina.
Thank you, Father. Thank you. Friends, wow, sometimes the Lord sends us or permits things that are hard to go through, things that we have to accept, not just put up with it, but accept, because there's always a way out, and the Lord extends his hand to pull us out of the black hole we've put ourselves into. We can learn from everything. So let's make sure to take advantage. Thank you. Thanks for being with us today.